Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight, grab your axes, fulfill your duty and honor, and let's get to hacking. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan.
The green
As
fucking
the Green Knight.
night. Oh, yeah, you didn't even say the fucking... Good job, Mitch. Good job,
Yeah,
Mitch.
I was like, we're missing
Wait,
something. We're missing
you gotta
something.
do that over again.
Oh.
Welcome to another episode of Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. And tonight, grab your axes, fulfill your duty, defend your honor, and let's get to hacking as we explore the Green Knight. I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
And I'm Jonathan.
Nice second intro, Mitch.
We gotta keep that first intro in for dramatic effect.
Right, yeah. I feel like we've done this a few times now, which is pretty funny.
It's all on you, baby.
Kind of reveals a little more about what we're doing. You know, it's not perfect every time.
What are we doing?
Well, we're talking about a recent film.
We're talking about The Green Knight.
Segue.
We're talking about The Green Knight. We're talking about how good A24 has been about selecting their films.
Ooh, they're
just like choosing the
fire.
best films to release and distribute, and they're just like starting to funnel money into it now that they've made a whole bunch, and this happened to be one of them.
This is one of those movies that was talked about a lot before it was made.
Yeah.
And
Oh my God, their marketing team
Yeah.
is like brilliant. Like they really got people excited for it, and somehow got it onto like every single platform you can think of.
You know, I actually didn't see any advertisements for Green Knight. I didn't even know it was coming out until it did. So
shit.
I guess it just wasn't targeted towards my audience.
Man, I was
whatever my
targeted
audience
hard
is.
for this movie.
I mean, you're a big ass nerd, so
Sure.
like makes sense.
Fair.
Same.
I mean, I'm a nerd, but in my own respects.
They're in their advertising. They definitely pitched this as some sort of Game of Thronesy
Yeah.
sort of thing.
They didn't
For
lie
sure.
though. They didn't tell you it was going to be like an action film. Like I feel like when they were showing you, it was definitely meant to be more about the story and sort of like the origin of where it came from.
the visuals
So
as
like,
well.
yeah. So just before we really get into it, it's written and directed and edited by David Lowery. We know him from making the movie A Ghost Story, which came out in 2017. And so that was sort of like one of his debut films. And since then, he's been making nothing but horror films, and
Nice.
has really been hitting out of the park with most of these. And then this one, he wanted to make a fantasy film that he'd wanted to make for a while. And so they approached him and asked if he wanted to do a story off of one of the old Arthurian legends, which is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Yeah, which is a 2,537
Old.
line poem.
It's old, and they don't even know who wrote it.
Yeah, that's the crazy.
I think it was specifically signed anonymous. Like the person who wrote it didn't want to be like credited.
yeah,
At least from my understanding for it.
it's definitely part of that romantic period
Yes.
of the Middle Ages. Very very Celtic. At least as far as, because that's like, you know, just like like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. It's all very Celtic myth sort of stuff.
I do like the like conspiracy theory that King Arthur, in the same way that Shakespeare was not one single person, but was possibly a collection of people.
Ooh.
King Arthur is essentially their pen name.
Yeah, either their pen name or like somebody they wanted people to sort of idolize. Like
An
this was the
alias
best
sorts.
of all of them. Or it could be an alien.
I feel like not alien, an alias.
Oh, I heard alien. I was like, yes, King Arthur's an alien. Let's
But
go.
also in this case, kind of being like an entity.
Yeah, exactly. Like sort of a culmination of what they always wanted to be. Like this is the best night. Like this is what they wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We're Salsa Verde. Not I am.
So it stars Dev Patel, who we know from Slumdog Millionaire. That was his debut film.
Such a good job.
He was in Chappie, and he was in a few episodes of Skins.
Wait, he's in Chappie?
That's the main dude in Chappie.
Oh my God! He's so young!
Yeah, he's the tech genius who brings them all to life.
Oh, I love this even more now.
Yeah, and so it's because he had all the facial hair. He grew out his
Yeah.
beard and mustache, which is actually his own facial hair.
I know for a fact that the director chose Dave Patel specifically because he had a thought, man, Dave Patel's sick. How would it look if he was on a horse and had like a sword at his side? He's like, yeah, I want that guy.
He also didn't want to have like your typical white European in the old Arthurian story. And he's like, I want to subvert this and make people think about it. And so he chose Dev Patel, and then he kind of included the small tidbit that his mom was accused of witchcraft. And she sort of does commit a little bit of witchcraft, sorcery.
A little bit.
she straight up summons the Green Knight in this.
There's a whole ass ceremony in their temple. Are you kidding me?
It's true.
She's a witch.
It's
but
great.
I think she had good intentions. They just didn't quite.
Yeah.
She was
go
waiting
her
for the
way.
right day for her son.
Right.
Yeah.
A big focus of this film, or even like this story, is like that respect for nature sort of thing, like accepting nature
That's a
and
big
the
one.
outcome of the outcome events as they should be, sort of idea, which is something you'll find in like your.
They had a really good
David
casting
stuff.
for this. Everybody they chose for their roles was really good. And then like this also has Ralph Ineson. We know him from The Witch. He's the dad in The Witch.
Oh yeah.
And so he has a really distinct like Yorkshire accent, which is really sought after in voice acting. So he's done a lot of voice acting, and he's a really deep voice. All they really had to do is put a lot of like makeup on him, but he's already that big.
Yeah, he's a tall motherfucker.
He's a tall dude, so being able to put all that stuff on him, and then he got to play the Green Knight. So it wasn't really like a CGI thing. They actually put like all the stuff
You can
on
see
him.
his face in there.
Yeah, they basically like coded on all of the stuff. It's distributed by A24, which is probably the most talked about distribution place on our podcast. We've talked about maybe like 9 or 10 different films from
we
A24.
like their movies.
We obviously like their movies and their style that they're choosing. It was filmed in Ireland at Admore Studios and Cahir Castle, so a real castle. This was not built. This is something that was existing, and they just kind of took over for a bit.
Where
and
did you
filmed
say
in
it was shot?
In Ireland.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of abandoned castles
Yep.
in Ireland because every family back in the day had to have their own fucking
Yep,
castle.
exactly.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it belonged to a family, and they were like, "You want to shoot a movie in it? Fuck yeah! Like, go ahead and shoot the movie."
It's like, we don't use this
I
castle.
think when we watched the movie, because I watched it with a group, I was like, damn, that almost made Ireland look livable.
Oh my god! I'm fucking dead.
Almost.
Oh my god,
Jeez.
that's fucking great. I love that.
We love Mark David Chapman, taking out the second wave of the British Army.
So, wow, that's fucking terrible. I think what was interesting about it, though, was that this was supposed to be released a year ago. This is supposed to be released in 2020, May of 2020, which is exactly when the pandemic hit. And they were like, we got to delay it. Like, we can't release it. And what happened is in those months that followed, Lowry took a look at it again and didn't like the cut. He was like ready to go, like ready to release it, and was like, actually, I don't like this cut. And then went and recut the film, and what we saw is the recutting. And apparently it had been much longer, like almost a 3-hour movie. And he was like, I do not like all this extra stuff, and cut it short. And then he ended up creating what we now see as the Green Knight.
I think that was a better call.
Yeah, it's a good call because I think it was, while it is a little bit slow, it's really concise on what it's trying to tell you. I think it's probably a better cut. Although I love seeing long shit, so like I would have wanted to see his full like director's cut. I hope he does like a release where he shows like a different cut or like
we
a
get
longer
our Lord of the
version.
Rings extended.
Yeah,
release
exactly.
of
It's
the
like
Green
4
Knight.
hours long. It was a budget of $15 million. It only made $17.7 million, so barely made its money back. And it's like, it's really polarized people. Some people love this movie, and other people are like, this is terrible. The worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh man, the audience reactions, and we all went to go see it. Well, we didn't all go together, but I think we all saw it on theaters.
Right.
Tell
Jeez.
him about the guy that walked out. Tell him.
Oh, so at the end of the film, when we were getting up, this guy was like, I'm never watching a film again. Because he fucking hated it. He hated it. He even said, like, what the fuck? Like, at the end of it. Because he was
I
just so
heard that
confused.
from him throughout the movie. He was like, what the fuck am I watching?
He chose the wrong movie. Like, this was not a movie for that
Yeah.
guy.
I try. I had my own fair quarrel, I guess you could say. My friend was like, "Yo, dude, I just watched Black Widow. Shit was way better than the Green Knight."
Whoa.
I was like, "Oh,
Whoa, the Black Widow is entertaining, but I don't think it's better
They're
than the Green Knight.
I was
completely
just like-
different ballparks.
Also, yeah, like this
I was
is
like-
not comparable.
Well, because he's like, I just saw some recent movies. I gotta say, Black Widow was way more enjoyable and a better movie than fucking The Green Knight. And I was like, Green Knight sucked. And I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to try to school this guy. But he was in the military, so I don't think I could get anything through him.
Oh, no, yeah, that's not happening.
thick skull, the
Yeah.
meathead.
So obviously, your expectations have to be sort of set, or just have none when you go into it.
Yeah, I mean, if all you're expecting are cheesy one-liners and explosions, this is not the movie for you.
And big medieval fight scenes.
Yeah,
you're not going to get
With
that either.
two armies clashing in the
I'm a
battlefields.
I'm gonna fucking spoil it. There's no dragon in this movie.
I was kind of pissed about that. I love me a
Dragon,
good
I
dragon.
Are giants
That
which
part
is
was
wild.
cool.
It's very cool.
and a talking fox.
And a talking box. That's true.
I really like that they had the giants in here because I feel like that's something that's really prevalent in medieval lore, but like
Yes.
as of lately has not really been represented in movies.
No.
Maybe like Lord of the Rings a little bit with the walking trees, but like that's something kind of different. But like giants was very much a popular thing in their mythology at the time.
The way they
I mean,
did
all
it
over
too.
the area, not even in Europe, but
Yeah.
other southern parts like in Greece, you have stories of giants.
Or that mountain is a giant.
Yeah, or
Right.
the mountain is a giant, or they were
The
the
Titans.
giants. At
Yeah,
some
all
Or
point.
they're
Titans.
sleeping inside the mountain.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Uh,
But it is a new modern portrayal of giants. Because
Yeah.
we've seen giants in Attack on Titan. They're like
Yeah.
these were kind of just like I don't know how to
they
describe
were just
them.
they were
Just
were
really big
what's the
people.
word? They were like in a caravan, like they were going somewhere.
Right.
They're just
yeah,
traveling.
but like their features, their appearance wasn't as like terrifying and ogre-like.
Also that, yeah,
and what
they
you
were
see in a lot of representations, like even though Attack on Titan has more humanistic features, there's still some things that are distorted to make them kind of scary. But in this case, the giants just looked like
Very
people.
regular
They're
looking.
just really big.
Big stone people
Yeah,
walking that way.
They look like 3D models, if you will.
I think a lot of this
the
comes from
CGI on it was really fucking good.
the stories of the Nephilim, which was
Ooh,
really popular
yeah.
back then, which is basically when angels came down and they're like, dang, these humans are kind of fine, and started making babies with them. The babies then grew into be these giants that we call the Nephilim.
Yeah.
And that was something that was really common in some of those older stories.
Yeah, man, they're using the Stargates.
Man, we talk
That's
about
a
this
whole
on
other story.
we talk about this on Starship Troopers, man.
So to bring us back a little bit before we completely segue into 15 other films.
True. That's true.
One of the questions we have on our outline here, and it's something I've seen from a lot of the audience complaints, is what the fuck did I just
Yeah.
watch? What the hell is this about? I can never show this to my friends.
What is it
I'll lose
actually
friends.
about? What is
Yeah.
it actually about? And this is
I guess
one of the
that's-
highly debated topics.
Yeah, and I would say that this is literally just about King Arthur's nephew proving himself to them and his mother Morgan Le Fay, that he is worthy of being part of, like, he's worthy of being a knight, essentially, that he exhibits those characteristics, and he's tested during different points of his
Yeah.
journey as well.
I think it is. I agree. I think it is partly that. I think it's his journey into knighthood, into manhood. It's like a coming of age story because he gets tested, like as he's going through his journey, and like what is he gonna do? And you sort of have like these morals, these rules that you kind of have to follow as a knight, especially if you're gonna be in King Arthur's court. And so, I really liked the portrayal of King Arthur too, who is like. He was really gentle. Like, he was older. He was obviously like not fighting as much anymore. And he legitimately is like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't pay attention to you. Like, I want to know like one of your stories.
That shit was wholesome.
Yeah, you get a really like genuine, wholesome moment. And then you have a really good actor in Dev Patel who tells you a lot of things without saying it. He has
Yeah.
really good face acting and really good body emotion as he's acting through all of the feelings that he's going through.
There was the one thing too in that conversation is when he asked him for stories, he said he didn't really have any.
Yeah.
And then, here's this opportunity where he will have some stories to tell. But I think another running theme in this movie is that your actions have very particular consequences,
Yes.
whether they're good or bad is kind of irrelevant. It's all cause and effect sort of things. And, how the movie ends is sort of the effect of his decision in the beginning to sort of be seeking this sort of bravado from his comrades, and behead this thing. I don't know what you would call it. The Green Knight.
The Green Knight is, I would say, like a representation of nature.
Yeah.
In itself, and like the Green Man has been a thing that
Right.
is throughout a lot of different
The
mythologies.
Green
and
Man
things
is
like that.
noted to be like a deity of sorts.
Yeah.
So I guess you could say that this Green Knight is also a deity, but he gives them the option. Basically, whatever he does will be returned to him, which is already like, cause and
Yeah.
effect. and he chooses to cut off his head when he could have just given him a little tap, And
Right.
so in the end, he gets his own head cut off because that was the cause of his actions, and he's led on this whole crazy story that ultimately leads to him dying because of his choices.
I would argue that he did not die.
I mean, you could
Because
say
they
that.
don't actually show it, but
It
it's
is
open. It's open.
It is open
It's
to
open for
interpretation.
interpretation. Yeah, exactly.
I thought he got his head cut off.
Yeah, me too.
I don't.
I don't think so
But
either.
after watching like some clips from fucking YouTubers, because we have to explore every little aspect of this film
Right.
on the internet.
Duh.
Well, I think okay.
my
So
mind's changed
I
a
think we
little.
should circle back to it. I think we should.
One thing. All right. So before we get to our intense, heated debate on whether or not Gawain dies or not at the end of this movie, I would like to go over the code of chivalry for knights first.
Yeah,
That's very representative.
This is what they followed.
Yeah,
Like they made these.
Yeah. So faith is one of them.
Yeah.
Which our boy Gawain here is pretty faithful in God and whatnot. So,
Hell no.
No?
The guy said he went to church for 10 hours and he went to the fucking bar.
Well, then excuse me for misinterpreting that.
Well, this is sort of the point, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He gets tested on whether or not
Right.
he's going to follow the morals of knighthood.
So
Yeah.
so no, he does.
So I'm
he is-
wrong. I
yeah.
get it, Mur. I'm wrong. Shut up.
Yeah.
I love you.
Have you checked out the Mind Goblin yet?
The Mind Goblin?
Mind Goblin these nuts
Oh
in your
my
mouth.
God.
All right,
Oh
continue.
my
God.
God!
He
I
got you
hate you
2 episodes in a
Man.
row.
much.
Get out
Anyway,
of here.
so I'm going to continue with the code of chivalry here.
This is great.
So we've got faith, like I already said, charity, justice, sagacity, prudence, temperance, resolution, and truth.
Ooh, you know what? We should keep this in mind when we're talking about the events that happen, because it's a very real possibility he got tested on all of these
Yeah.
on his journey, and then at the very end, you get sort of the determining factor. Did he, in fact, get into the point where he can be a knight, or did he not? And so that's interesting. I hadn't considered that he was being put to the test specifically for these morals.
Yeah. If the original story, he does not die at the end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
He it's like a joke. He's like, it's okay, and he like
Yeah.
stands him up and gives him a hug.
Basically, it's like, good job, you did it.
Yeah.
You proved yourself.
You've
This
proved
was a
it.
game.
Yeah.
The beheading game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has left the scar at the end of the
Yeah.
original poem.
Right. Just like as
to
a
be-
memory.
Like to show everyone that yes, he did in fact cheat at the game, and
Right.
that you should be honorable always.
Yeah, it's
and
like a
not
living
lie.
proof of it.
Yeah.
It's
It's a story about telling little kids to tell the fucking truth. Basically.
So we were already getting at the idea that, of course, it's mostly about his journey, which you hear the cliche, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey that you're going through. So it's like this is one of those moments
Yeah.
where you get that, where you actually are going to see him go through quite a lot of things. And so you have themes that sort of run through it. We've mentioned one already, which is his knighthood and his sort of coming of age. There's also this idea about the nature that he's in. So the green and the forest and everything that you see throughout the film is like really prevalent. This is like what he goes into, and it takes over most of the land. And they even have the
that-
scene where he's laying there.
I was gonna say this makes me think of a later scene where he finds the castle on his way to see the Green Man.
Right.
And he encounters this strange family living in the castle. And I think it was the wife of the king there. She is giving this monologue where she's basically saying that green is one of the most powerful things because it can overcome anything, and in the end it'll only be green. When life is gone, it's overtaken by green, like you see in the forest where he sees his dead body in front of him and it's been grassed over with moss and everything else that comes in the forest.
Yep, we all will die and get buried and get returned back to the earth, and that was the main point, was that the death will come for everyone, basically.
Yeah.
That idea, and I think it's also like how it's shot is definitely him. Like I think a lot of shots are him just like internally thinking about
so
the
good.
situation. So like when it pans
Yeah.
all the way around to his
There's a
corpse
full
and then back to him
360
alive.
pan of the area that takes you through time and the possibility of what would happen if he never got untied and died there in that spot.
I timed some of these shots.
Huh?
I timed some of these shots.
How long were they?
They're like 15 to 20 seconds.
Really?
Some of them are 30.
Oh.
But here's the thing. To complain that they're long
Yeah.
seems pretty dumb.
I think
They get the point
yeah,
across.
They do get the point across. I think what happened was Either expectations were not set by the audience who like came in to see it, but also people are just not used to this. Like as far as filmmaking goes, they want very much to have the instant gratification and to have action, like action films in a night that in a story that includes nights.
Would you say that this is more of an artsy film?
Honestly, no. I don't think this is like landing into the category of like, this is an art house film. This really goes back to what the story was sort of about. Like when you heard people talking to you about what King Arthur's story was, it was this. You had like an interesting story being told by like a master storyteller. And so you then get brought into the world, which they do right at the beginning. Like you're brought into this world and that's it. There's nothing else outside of it. You don't see giant cities. You don't see huge armies. You see King Arthur's court and then just the Sir Gawain when he's taking his trip. And so this brings you into the story.
Well, the setting itself and the set design, I never felt like I was out of it.
Yeah.
Like it's very
seamless all the way through.
Well made. And the cinematography complements it a lot. There's a lot of great shots in here, especially going through the journey. And like there's the hero's journey, as we say, they go through all this shit, but there were very good connections for all the cinematography like, points. There's a reason why they're doing that long shot.
It's interesting though because like going through all of it, he technically really wasn't that good of a knight.
not at first.
Not at first. He kind of fails a few of those tasks.
Yeah, temperance is one of the codes, and he's a giant drunk. Because he spends a whole year before his journey just getting drunk and sleeping around and whatnot. And, Murs made me reconsider all of this. But speaking back to the long shots and everything, too, what this cinematography does in this movie, especially with your CGI elements and everything else like that, is it captures that mysticism that comes with these Arthurian legends and stuff. So they're all kind of weird and like just they're fantastical in their own.
They're meant to be like pretty surreal. Like you end up getting a lot of moments where they've abandoned sort of like they make you suspend your disbelief in a way that you are doing it so that you can experience what he's experiencing. So you're getting what's in his mind, all the emotions he's feeling, and then it translates directly into something visual. So then you get to see the color palettes that change, like from him being in the water, like it turns like red, like while he's under there. And so you then have a completely different shift on what he's looking for, and he comes up and he's holding the skull.
Speaking of our code, of our knight's code, anyway. So if we look at charity, him throwing the coin to the beggar on the old battlefield. It's one of the first ones.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah, that's him displaying charity during
he wasn't going to give anything to him in the first place, though.
True, that was that's what I was going to bring up.
But he does do it.
Eventually.
Well, yeah.
The point is he does it.
My directions are only worth a thanks. Really?
Yeah.
That's why he got jumped.
He's like, oh, okay. And then that's when he reveals that he has a giant bag of gold, so the dude gets fucking mugged. And then it kind of progresses his story. But yeah, that's true. It's a hard one because you have like a circumstance where he gets presented with how he's supposed to be acting, and then he has like his response. Even with the woman who needs her skull retrieved, he's like, well, what's in it for me? And she's like, why would you ask that? Like that's like a response to it. It's also cool to see that actor. She's been in a few things now, including like she was in the what is it, Captain America, the Falcon, and the Winter Soldier show. She was in that one, so it was cool to see her getting more roles.
Yeah, she's like a SHIELD agent, isn't she?
She's like technically the bad guy in that.
Oh, okay,
but more like the people who just took the super soldier serum and they end up fighting back against the government. So it's like a whole different thing. But it was cool to see her in that story because then you had him like kind of questioning it, and he then gets put through the paces by losing everything and having to lug that axe around, which is also a cool mythical item. Like it like grows things around it. Like when he opens the box, it's like moss has grown on the inside of it.
That was something, I know it's going to sound really cheesy, but I feel like that sort of symbolizes the duality of nature.
Yeah.
And how we were talking before about how green kind of overcomes death in the end. It's sort of the same thing, is that there's a death and life growth is part of nature.
I thought you were going to say the duality of man.
Well, I mean, you could apply it to that too, but you have this axe, which is typically a symbol of death or destruction, whether it's destruction of someone's life or you're cutting down timber, you're destroying a part of it to create something new. And then from the axe, you have these little green growies that are happening, little flowers and grass that are forming in the case that it's in. So you have life and death embodied in one.
Yeah, he's carrying death on his shoulders as well as life.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And there also is his options. You know, he could be facing life or death at the end of his journey.
That would work though for the story because the knight ends up not being like he's not specifically out to kill people. He's like very much a vessel for whatever people are asking of him, or like you mentioned, whatever is done to him, he does back to them.
Yeah, you know, if you water a plant, it returns with life.
Yeah.
You know, same thing. If you feed something into a certain situation, you'll grow something out of it.
Yeah, he could have just.
And what you feed depends on what you're growing.
Right.
He could have just, poked him, slapped him in the face, and he would have gotten that. But that doesn't make a good, compelling legend.
Right.
It also doesn't give you that sense of uncertainty or fear.
Right.
I mean, he is like what Murr was saying, like, because he doesn't display these traits fully. It's sort of a thing he has to learn, and he's punished when he goes against them as well, such as him getting mugged or him starving, and then he eats those mushrooms that make him trip.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Never
wonderful.
eat strange mushrooms.
He
in a
really does
forest.
go on a he goes on a psychedelic trip, which is really interesting because you like almost immediately know what's gonna happen, and then he starts having all the visuals.
Didn't his little fox friend eat the mushrooms too?
Yeah, and he starts getting all fucked up.
Did we talk about the little fox
That's
that
like
follows
the
him
spirit,
yet?
right?
Yeah.
She's so cute.
Or like a guardian, sort of. I think the fox was sent by his mother.
Yeah,
Because,
I like that idea.
You know, she knew that he was going on this journey, and she tried to prepare him with like the protective sash and whatnot. She probably also called upon some sort of fox spirit to guide him.
So, with the foxes are often seen in mythology as sort of like a spirit guide sort of idea. But you could also, I've also seen interpretations of this where the fox could also be part of his internal monologue. Who's like kind of him like considering his options, things like that.
Yeah, I had a feeling that it felt to me more like his conscience.
Yeah.
Of like where he was supposed to be going, his guide to like this would be like if you had your mom's voice in your head.
True.
So it does fit in well.
And like how when he's about to cross the river to meet the Green Knight, the fox speaks to him in a human voice.
That was great.
And it's basically like, you're afraid, aren't you? Well, if you have nothing to be afraid of, why are you wearing that sash, which is supposed to protect him from getting struck down?
Yes.
The sash is a big thing. One thing I wanted to note was the symbolism with the giants.
Yeah.
Because as the giants go, he wants to take a ride on them.
Right.
So then it's literally showing you he would rather tailcoat on the shoulders of giants than become one himself.
Dang. Okay. All right then.
Whoa. Mind goblin.
If you've also got the aspect that giants are typically associated with nature, so you could also I've also seen interpretations where it's like the giants just represent nature, and you should just kind of follow it to your destination, sort of thing, and they're just a representation of that. But both of these interpretations are valid.
I did enjoy the weird bit where he ends up at that castle. With
can we
the
talk
guy,
about the cum?
the guy, his wife. Oh man,
The Shinji moment.
So like you don't get a lot of scenes like this in film like at all, and so to see him sort of like fails, like he ends up like basically fucking a dude's wife, or he wants to, and like ends up coming on his own fucking hand. So but he also was like, he's clinging onto the sash too at that moment too. So there's got to be a lot more going on.
He's willing to forsake his honor in order to protect himself.
There you go.
Sort of idea.
That's a good read of it.
A loss of morality here. Because he wants to bang her.
Well, there's also the idea that at some point they believed that either like ejaculating or like doing it where it doesn't go towards like making babies was considered a loss of vitality. And so they might have considered that for that moment where he was like, it wasn't intended for anything but selfishness for himself, which fits into what you've said, where he's just trying to protect himself. So they had a lot of different ways you could read it. Also, I think the woman took a photo of him, like the earliest version of what a photograph would be, and then he's like,
not
that's
while
an
he
odd
was
name.
coming, but
No, but yeah, right. Weird segue.
Well, I referred to the cum scene as the Shinji moment because in the end of Evangelion, the movie, in the beginning, he sees like it's Shinji, the main character, sees Asuka. She's in like an ICU unit, and like he lifts up her skirt and he sees her
Yikes.
underwear, and then proceeds to masturbate and come on his own hands. And he feels so disgusted afterwards because he lost his morality right there. And I like what you said, where it's like it's that defeat, but also like a loss of vitality, like because a little part of them die in that.
Yeah, exactly. There's something that's gone wrong at that point.
What have I become?
Yeah.
Moral of the story: don't masturbate.
Oh,
I'm sure it was something that they were getting at, because that could have been a belief at that time, was that, it's not necessarily a good thing to masturbate.
oh shit! It harkens back to our witchcraft trial, where it's like if it ain't making a baby to sit in the seat of the church, don't do it.
Right.
True
I mean,
that.
it's kind of oh, I lost my train of thought. Fuck. We're talking about cum too much.
Hey, this was realistic looking cum, man.
Oh, so a lot of this stuff. Sorry to just jump back in, but I got it. So a lot of these A24 movies and stuff, they have a lot of historical background.
Right.
So you're looking at you're not looking at things through how we interpret it today. You're looking at how they would interpret it during that time period.
Yes, exactly.
One thing that you mentioned when we brought it up, like just talking about the movie, you said that this is the most accessible A24 film you've ever seen.
I still hold true to that statement. I do believe it is the most accessible. I don't think it's too hard to follow along with this movie.
I mean, yeah, when we've talked about shit like The Lighthouse,
Yeah.
comparatively, yeah, I could say that this is probably easier to get into.
That was a bigger what the fuck movie, but I still followed along with it pretty well.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's still at the top of the list for one of my favorite movies,
Yeah, it's
ever.
so good.
This one is went way up to closer to the top of the list for me because of the storytelling element that gets brought out in it. So like you have sort of the beginnings of it, which is like around Christmas, like, or Yuletide is like kind of the main time that they're doing this story. And so you kind of get this idea that they've sat around the fire or this area that they're sitting in, and they're telling a Christmas story.
The round table.
The round table. So which is a cool interpretation of the round table. It's like a half circle.
I had mentioned that because whenever I pictured the round table, it was always like a solid piece of wood
Right.
that everyone sat around the edge of. But in this case, it was like a stone circle that was open in the center and also slightly open on one side, so someone could enter into the circle.
Right.
Like how the Green Knight strolled up on his horse and just walked into the center of the circle of the table.
Dude, that shit
just
was
like,
badass.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And
Want to play a game?
the costume looks phenomenal.
Oh God!
Oh, yeah.
yes.
No, I love the Green Knight's
and
look.
Good props to the sound engineer, because you could hear the tree like snapping
Oh,
and all
yeah,
that shit.
he sounds like a fucking tree moving. It's just great.
He's wielding an olive branch.
Yes,
If you don't
which
know,
is
it's a
important.
symbol of peace.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, I'm not here to fight anybody," and
I
he even
also-
shows it before he approaches.
I also liked how the king looked to his seer to see if he was in any
Yeah,
present
that was dope.
danger. It was a really subtle moment, but he looks over to this man with tattoos on his face, and he kind of just gives him like a yes or a no if there's any danger present.
He
I
like
thought that was really
closes his eyes and like says a few words as if
yeah,
he's like
there's
scanning
like a
the
lighting
area.
change.
Yeah.
and it was an interesting moment because I think that's something that was really prevalent but not exactly talked about as much, at least nowadays. Is way back then, like there's a lot of use of psychic mystics in the court, especially in royal courts. I mean, you think of the French court in Nostradamus.
They were very superstitious too.
Well, one of the people in the movie was supposedly Merlin, but they don't really like. They kind of just like they show him occasionally. I think it might have been the person that you're talking about.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a really high possibility that it was in fact Merlin on his court.
Fun fact, his mother was an apprentice of Merlin.
Oh,
Morgan Le Fay.
That makes sense.
interesting.
Yeah, because I saw the credits. They're like, this person plays Merlin. He had no lines in the film.
Yeah, which is nuts
needs
considering
no
how big of a
lines.
character he is. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting that that's brought up in regards to his mother, because obviously, like, his mother is the one that summoned the Green Knight to the court. And I believe it was because she wanted her son to take the leap of faith into greatness.
Yeah. So I do have to wonder, though, if she was not expecting him to do what he did. I think in a way she wanted to, like, have him be how he kind of always was. And to, like...
He seemed kind of timid,
Yeah.
honestly.
And I think in a way she was hoping he would just, like, nick him or something.
Softness is an asset. Just saying.
And so, but then I think he may have surprised her by just like fully taking his head off. even surprise the rest of the court, because King Arthur reminds him too before he steps down. He's like, it's just a game.
Yeah,
It's
I
just a
think she
game."
knew that he kind of made a mistake there, or else she
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have given him the sash that
Right.
would let him get cut
Which
down.
solidifies it more for me in my mind, where she's like, oh fuck, like this did not turn out how I expected it, so take this, like this is going to protect you. But then you have this sort of moment, like as he's going through it, that he clings to it because this is sort of the thing that's going to protect him. And so in a way, he's never really stepping out into the real world until that sash is removed, and then he has to face the real danger. And I think that's why the ending is interpreted differently for me than it might be for like some other people who are like, no, he for sure died at the end. So it's like that's one of those things that goes all the way through the film. He even like goes to the point of like wanting to get it back. He removes it from the woman's waist when he sees like, but then you wonder like, how the hell did she get it in the first place? Like, were they actually there? Like, where did he end up?
So there's an interpretation that the woman in there might be his mother, or the entire like castle and all of the people in there are like his mother, like manifesting.
Like
that kind
she
of stuff.
conjured it, or
Yeah.
like, oh, dang.
Wild.
Another test.
Yeah, right.
So he fucked his mom.
No.
No, his mom jacked him up. No,
Indirectly
Hey,
through illusion.
She conjured it. All
Oh
right.
my God.
She conjured.
Ghost, man.
Ghost.
Ghost.
Conjured
Isn't that how
handy.
it works?
but-
Wait a second.
Never mind.
But the three gifts are very like important to the story. I think Mitch knows more about like the three gifts that he has to give.
The sash is one of them.
And actually, it's actually a tale of several kisses. The first one is a kiss on the cheek.
Oh, that's right.
The second one is 2 kisses, and then the third one is when the husband's like, "Hey, you got something for me?"
Yeah.
No, and he knows he's lying in this part in the poem. He knows that he's lying to him because he knows he's been fucking around with his wife. So in this movie, they portray it as, "Yes, let me kiss you," and then for a lot of people, everyone was very confused why this man was kissing Dave Patel, but I knew.
But I knew. I knew the
knew.
story.
Because the thing is, Mitch told me before watching the movie, just like check out the history before you watch it. Just check out the poem.
Right.
Like you could check out a 15-minute video discovering or just talking about the lore, and it will help guide you through this film more than the film itself.
I also really enjoyed the sort of like alternate ending that you get before, like the false ending of him like going back in fear, like he cowardly runs away.
That
goes
last
back,
20 minutes, dude.
lives out his entire life pretty much in fear, and his court gets taken over. Someone's coming in to kill him.
His son dies.
Like, it's just the worst possible thing that could have happened, and the idea is that like it's because he ran away, because he was a coward at that point.
I feel like part of it is also saying that people who get into big stations of power, a lot of times that power is built on lies.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah.
That's a really good point. Also, I really liked that they basically tied in the beginning to the end. So, right, the first scene you have is of him in flames. Like, he's sitting in the throne, burning, and then sort of, like, goes up from there. And, like, this is your initial version of what you see as the king. And so that's sort of what happens at some point, or it's one of the versions that could happen in his life.
One of the things about that sequence near the end with like the entire future of him, if he so chooses to lie, is like the chick from the brothel. Like she has this super wholesome thing where she's like, "Maybe I could be your lady."
Oh my God. He basically rejects her like
He says
really hard.
nothing.
She's like, what could she say? Yeah, she said that she wants to be his lady, and then he's like, okay, and like gotta go, and like just goes up and goes.
That's weird as fuck.
And like takes the little bell that she has on her clothes.
It's because she has no royalty in her blood.
Right.
And
Well, they
so
even
in
show her in the false ending where she has a kid, and he like takes the baby from her,
Yeah.
and like basically just gives her some coins.
I think Merlin takes the baby.
Yeah.
They finally give it to Merlin, and then you never see the kid.
No.
And then finally, they bring in someone from royalty from a different castle or some shit.
Yeah, very
And-
much the arranged marriage type.
Yeah, and then they have a kid who later dies in battle, which that shit was hard to watch. Just like
Yeah, that was really tough.
fuck.
I was really convinced that was the end.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh fuck.
I was kind of pissed.
Me too. I told Justine while I was watching, I was like, I'm gonna be really fucking mad if this is how it ends.
That got me too.
Yeah.
For sure. I actually would it would be a really interesting subversion of the original tale to have it just end like that.
Right.
Because then you have like This is the lesson. This is what happens when you're a dishonest fuck and you don't hold true to your stuff.
So then we have to talk about two things then. Do we think that he did in fact do the things he was supposed to do to become a knight? Do you think he's a knight by the end of it? And two, do you think he actually died?
I think he gained his honor and gained knighthood. And then for me personally, when I first saw the movie, definitely thought his head chopped off. Like definitely thought, yeah, this is where your story ends. However, I realized that before the guy chops his head off, he puts his thumb to his neck and goes, "Off with your head," and goes like that. And so that's a symbolic cutting of the head off.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're gonna laugh about this. Your head is cut off. There you go. Run along now. That's what I thought.
It's the smile also.
It's the smile.
There's
also.
the smile kind of like as if he's just like, I'm proud of you. You did the right thing.
Okay, so initially I thought his head got cut off, but after talking about it, I don't think it did. I think, like you had mentioned, it was a symbolic thing, is that in order for him to become a knight, part of him had to die, the part of him that was timid and afraid. And in this case, him getting his head cut off is symbolizing that part of him no longer serving its purpose, and now he's reborn from the green as this powerful, wise, brave knight
like
or
that.
whatever.
Would you say that he is the Green Knight at the end of the movie?
In a sense, I mean, green was all around him. He had the green sash, the green forest, dying by the green knight. I don't know. I think it would be. It would make sense.
So he shows up with the sash. The sash will protect him from death. Green Knight goes, let's get to hacking, and is about to do it, and then he cowers and runs away. And then we get that fast forward shot of his life afterwards.
Right.
Now, something I've noticed in this movie is particularly more like towards the beginning when he considers, oh shit, if I don't do something while I'm tied up out in this forest, I'm going to be a corpse on the bottom of the thing. I need to do something about this. So he, takes it upon himself to save himself, sort of idea. And then so he gets to the Green Knight, and then that whole fast forward is him just considering what happens after if I cower and run away from what I've agreed to do. If I don't honor my duty and I don't honor, what I've said that I will do, my agreement, then what do I become after that? And so then it comes to him taking off the sash, saying, okay, wait, when everything's not right, let's take off the sash. Now I'm ready to die, essentially. And then it turns into, you've accepted your fate, which is the fate of all things, which comes back to the nature idea as well, where nature is supposed to end. And then you have and then it's the smile, the symbolism Mer's talking about. That's why I don't think that he dies, because it's definitely alluding to the original tale as well.
Right. Yeah, I felt the same way. I definitely thought about the symbolic cutting of his head. I also never really thought he was in danger to begin with. I think a lot of the time I felt like it of course was a test put together by his mom in the hopes that he would get a really good story out of it and then become sort of like he gets into legend. He becomes mythical along with all of these other things that happen.
Yeah, and they even portrayed this prior in the film with the little puppet show, which is adorable.
Yeah, I liked how they showed the progression of time with this little puppet show, and you see the little wheel turning and it turns to different seasons. That was a really good way to show the time without it being dragging on.
Very similar to Midsommar also.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of that too. Do you guys have any favorite scenes?
I like the forest time lapse scene.
Yeah, it's really good. When it does the full 360.
Yeah, and you see his bones in the forest, and you turn back and he's still there. Oh, whoa. Love that.
One thing I gotta mention, this is another one of those movies where I had to immediately check out the fucking soundtrack.
Right.
Because the music is really well done. But favorite scene, come back to me.
If it's not the very beginning, when King Arthur's wife sort of gets possessed for a second and delivers the message that is on the letter and burns up, it's that or when the knight first shows up, it's a great piece of cinematography to see him in the hallway, and it's he has the branch with him, and so you then see him completely outlined, and you see the branch off to the side. And you don't see him quite that clear, and you hear the clop of the horses as it comes in, and then you get a full view of him with the fucking sunlight coming in through that one opening. So it's like this is really good. Like whoever was the cinematographer for that, like got that shot exactly right. This is a good intro to a mythical person like the Green Knight. And so you then have the sort of tone and setting set up for you right at the beginning of it, and then it keeps going all the way through the whole film. It's surreal.
I have two.
Go for it.
But one's really short and not that meaningful. So I'll get to that one last because it's kind of funny. But those last 20 minutes, like basically the entire fast forward through his life.
Yeah.
Should he forsake, what he's agreed to do, which is partake in the beheading game. That's some of my favorite stuff from this film, for sure.
His head just falls off, right?
Yeah, at the end, he takes off the sash and his head just falls off.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought somebody had cut him. Like, no, it literally just fell off because he took off the sash.
He took off the sash and he's already been beheaded. It's over now, kind of idea. But there's like those last 20 minutes, though, some of my favorite, like definitely some of the best parts of the movie for sure. And then the other scene is really dumb. But in the very beginning of the scene, there is a goose and a goat, and they fuck with each other.
Yeah, they're like
it's funny as hell, and I want 3 more minutes of them just bullying each other.
I feel like that might have been a complete accident,
right?
Like just having animals on set fucking around with each other.
Like the goose gets stuck in his horns
Yeah.
for a second. It's like, rah, rah, and they start like fighting each other. I don't know. It's silly and dumb, but I loved that.
I wonder if maybe it was real or if it was a CGI moment, and we just couldn't tell.
Ooh.
It might be worth looking into.
Okay.
Because they had like a goat for the witch, like a real one.
I'm pretty sure they're real animals.
Could
dude.
be, yeah.
Okay, I found my favorite scene, and it's really wholesome. It's when he asks Dave Patel's character to come sit with him and just tell him a story. And then there's an opportunity, and he hands him fucking Excalibur.
Yeah, he's like, here, use my sword. And you're like, oh, fuck.
I cannot, like he even says, I cannot wield this to protect my own kingdom.
I don't think a lot of the audience understood what it meant for King Arthur to offer Excalibur to a knight who has no experience
that shit
to
meant
use it for a moment. It's a really heavy moment that kind of gets overlooked. So that's a good one to bring up.
It was very wholesome because he's his nephew.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is so fucking cute. And god damn. Oh, also the king has like some funny moments here and there, like where he's like, oh yes, the seat's cold or some shit like that.
Yeah. He's old. He's obviously getting old enough where like he hasn't had any children. He's gonna die of old age basically. And he's a really gentle person. I like this portrayal of King Arthur in these moments because he genuinely wanted some storytelling. He loved his stories, I think. And so in a lot of ways, this is sort of what created the King Arthur legends, was that his love for storytelling was to sort of exaggerate a bit on what the knights were doing. And in a way, they brought a lot of like good, honorable stories that they had while they were on the court.
I will say, after watching this movie, it made me want to see an anthology series just like about the other knights.
That'd be really
just
cool.
to see like how they got their knighthood as well.
Yeah, because they're obviously all like important.
Right.
And there's all the famous ones you've heard from all the stories. So like, and they don't name any of them.
No.
So you actually don't know who's there.
So what are you guys going to rate this film?
I actually didn't really find anything wrong with it. So like, this might be a 10 for me, honestly.
Also giving it a 10.
I think this is a really good movie, but I'm going to give it a 9, only because I feel like it's not as accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
definitely something that you have to know the story in order to really appreciate the movie, and not a lot of people put that much effort into understanding the background for certain movies. So it might be lost on a lot of people, like it was for the audience of most of the theaters we were in. But I still think it's a really great movie, so it's a 9 out of 10 for me.
I'm going to give this like a 9.7 to a 9.8.
It's almost there.
That's almost there. And I think it's only because, like I said, you have to do a little bit of research to like fully grasp it. And there were some things that were like completely lost from me, like knowing the story. I was like kind of pissed at like certain areas with the castle itself, with the couple. I was like, that's not how it goes. But I was like, I could fucking deal with it. But other than that, I mean, the cinematography is really well done. The color cues are beautiful and vast. And then that music, probably going to try to find the vinyl because it's really well done.
You know, the music did a really good job when you felt like it was appropriate. for
Yes.
every scene you're watching.
It never felt out of place. I felt like this
Yeah.
is. Do you hear this fucking riff?
This is what it's supposed to be. Yeah,
you hear this
is
fucking
exactly what
violin
it's
riff
supposed
right
to be.
here?
I like that a lot.
Hell yeah! So pretty good all around.
Yeah, I would say go watch it. It will help immensely if you go and know the lore and history about King Arthur, about all of his exploits and all of the people he was with. It'll inform you a lot about the film.
And I don't think you need to know too much
Yeah,
other than
just
just
like your
look up
basic
like a
level stuff.
little synopsis on
Yeah.
the original story, and that's pretty much all.
Go to
you need
Wikipedia.
know. Yeah, real quick Wikipedia article,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Also, those crowns are sick.
Yeah, the crown he wears is like one of the coolest ones I've seen. I like the design on that a lot.
Didn't it have sort of like a halo thing around it? But,
Yeah,
like
it was-
wasn't on like
Yeah,
the horizontal plane,
An
but it was on the
iron
vertical
halo.
plane.
yeah,
I like that because in a lot of cases, having the halo around your head is a symbol of divinity,
right.
and the royalty were presumed to be basically descendants of God, so in themselves divine. So having that on the crown, I thought was really interesting. Seeing a little bit of history there.
Little symbolism.
Ah, yes, symbolism.
All right, I'm gonna walk us out.
Yeah, let me grab my sword real quick.
Grab
and
your
my
sword.
sash.
I feel like John is a staff kind of person.
Where's my
Yeah.
axe?
Yeah, you're-
Interesting.
No, he looks like a claymore wielder.
Claymore. Oh, that's because you've only seen me play that in Genshin Impact,
Yeah, I
which is
know.
hilarious.
Dog.
It shows a lot about your
if I had my
personality.
choice of weapon though, it would either be the spear or a halberd.
Fair.
Those would be my choices. I'd really
What do you
use it.
What do you guys think I would have?
You'd have a hammer.
Yeah, definitely Warhammer or,
Or
a
an
mace.
axe.
A maul.
Oh, yeah.
Shit. All right. All right.
And Mitch has the baseball bat.
Yeah.
Now Mitch is the one who I would think would use a great sword or a
Yeah.
A
claymore.
Zweihander.
Yes,
Wait,
exactly.
wait.
The Zweihander, the
What
huge
would
fucking
I
things.
use?
I would guess probably like not the. What am I thinking of? The curved swords, the
Yeah.
scimitar, like
Hear-
some sword
hear me
like
out.
that.
I feel more an archer myself, but that would be cool too. An archer and a bow and a dagger.
I
That
mean,
would-
let
those
me-
would be
Daggers
my
for
main
sure.
choices.
You ping them with arrows till they get to you, and then you whip out the scimitar.
True.
Hear me
Cut 'em
out.
down
It's
after
either that
that.
or you use some sort of like exotic weapon. It's like, yes, here's my chain sword.
That would be dope.
Here-
You know, it's
Hear
like
me-
here's a morning star. I don't know, something wild like that.
A staff for spells. However, on the bottom, fucking knife bottom.
That'd be dope.
Ooh.
Yo.
I
You
just
can
got
use
a good,
daggers for spells as well.
I just got a
Ooh.
good
Just saying.
idea. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
No, go ahead,
interrupted
go
you.
ahead.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt people, but I really want to say things. If I don't say stuff, I'll forget.
I
to
feel
say
that
things.
ADHD.
Yeah,
Anyways.
totally. Yeah. We all got it in here.
Well, some more than others.
We I think it would be really cool to do an episode on like medieval torture devices and stuff like that.
I'm
shit,
down.
I didn't even
'Cause
think about
that
that.
would
I'm
because that's
game.
horrifying. Yeah,
Do it.
be fun.
Hell yeah. All right, so we got all our weapons. I'm going to walk us out. We are Bringing Down the Grindhouse, a podcast where we discuss horror in media. Thank you for checking out this episode. And I would like to mention first our new fucking merch.
Chibi chibi.
Chibi Chibi. We are in chibi form. We are anime. We are adorable. Go check it out. We're on pint glasses, mugs, fucking t-shirts. Fucking, yeah. So check that out. Design is by, do you have the name, Justine?
Halo is product.
My halo is pride.
My Halo is Prada. Thank you so much for the great work you did. Also
Merc?
check, what?
He said Merc.
I said work.
Oh.
That would be funny if you said Merc though.
Oh
I'm
my
not gonna lie.
You merked that design.
Yeah, you
dog.
murked it. Killed it. Check out our Patreon, where for $2 a month you could subscribe and get access to our bonus content, as well as recommend us a piece of horror media for us to review on one of the episodes. I just released a new episode on there. It's talking about the Giant Claw, cheesy 50s horror movie in black and white. It's fucking hilarious. Also, check out our social medias. We got the Instagrams, the Twitters, and the Facebooks. Leave a comment. Interact with us. We like hearing from you guys. And if you can't do that, then at least give us a review on the Apple Podcast. And make sure you're hitting the subscribe or follow button, whether it be on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, so you can be notified when new episodes drop. And that's all I got for y'all. Let's head out.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Murr.
I'm Justine.
I'm Jonathan. Thank you.
Kiki.
Kiki.